Hello, welcome to Harley's Abuse. If you haven't seen my channel, please feel free to watch with an open mind, and maybe this will help for something you've been through in your life watching this channel. Maybe this is something that you have no relation to. Maybe you just flat out completely hate people like myself. I don't know, but definitely feel free to watch. So, my name is Harley with Harley's Abuse. And this is a channel where I discuss things that have happened to me in my life, some more or less on the abuse that happened to me in life. But however, today what I'm going to discuss was not abuse. Things that had to be done at that particular time in life, I guess. I do want to say I'm grateful that I never had to go to a place like Penhurst in my life. Penhurst was, for those of you that don't know, was a mental hospital back in the 60s and 70s that took children, or specialized in taking children with learning disabilities, mental retardation, all sorts of stuff. Back then, doctors would tell the parents when they realized they had some sort of disability, okay, well, this child is not really worth your time, worth your effort, worth your love. Alright, this child has these disabilities. And I was no exception to that rule. In fact, when I was diagnosed with such a severe learning disability that I was borderline mental retardation at that time. Now, we just say that these kids are autistic, but I'm not talking about other children. I'm talking about myself as a child. Now, the reason why this is so heavy on my mind is because I just got done taking an MRI. For those of you who do not know, it's basically this little thing that they put you into. It's a little tube. If you're claustrophobic, yeah, this is a place you do not want to be. I am a little bit claustrophobic, so obviously it's a place that I'm not very comfortable in. And as a child, I had to go through a series and sorts of all these kinds of testing as well. And yeah, so obviously it brought back a lot of memories on that specific situation. And boy, my camera's having issues with focusing today, isn't it? But yeah, this MRI is important for me to get done today, and it was important back then. The difference is today with MRIs with the Children's Hospital, which is another thing I love. I mean, we've come a long way when it comes to how we treat our children, and we need to keep moving forward with that. Okay, but yeah. Now they have like little TVs and stuff for the kids that sits on the end of them that they can watch and stuff. So I think that's great. Now, back when I was a child though, and I was being tested and I was first diagnosed with a severe learning disability, like I said, one step up for retardation, they were told my mother, and I remember this conversation deeply, both the doctors and the teachers, and word for word, alright, and a teacher read this off of paper. I remember teacher, I mean, he hated me anyway, so he had no problems holding back, but reading off this piece of paper, he said, yeah, your son is never going to learn how to read the word men on the men's bathroom stall. He'll never be able to talk correctly. He'll never be able to walk correctly. He'll never be able to ride a bicycle. He'll never be able to function as a human being in this world. So this is our suggestion to you, that you send him off to a hospital and forget about him. That is hurtful and spiteful. Even now, it's still hurtful and spiteful. And believe me, my real father was more than happy to oblige that idea, but he wasn't in the picture at this time anyways. Alright? My father could care less if I existed. At this time, my mom was even remarried. And yeah, it was a crazy time, and I'm sure my mom went through a lot of emotions at this time as well. You know, I remember my mom trying to make me feel better because I overheard this. And my mom said, whatever you want to be, you'll be. Whatever you want to do, you'll do. Just don't say no. And of course, I listened to her. Which is how I can sit before you today and talk into this camera in a very special way. And I'll be honest, in my opinion, I think I sound more intelligent than most lawyers. Yeah, my brain might be more like on a 12-year-old level with a lot of things. But it's also adult with a lot of things as well. Alright? For a living, I carried a freaking firearm. Now, some of you would be like, oh my God, how could you ever? Well, that's the whole point. I passed the testing. I passed the schooling. You know, I did a lot of things that I can't do. Alright? I ride a motorcycle. You know what? According to the doctors, I can't. Alright? So, I don't ever want to hear that crap coming out of somebody's mouth to their child that you'll never be able to accomplish a thing. I don't care what the diagnosis is. It is up to you to help that child to overcome things. Okay? My mom did. I love her to death. She is nowhere near perfect, by the way. And I don't think that either. I know better than that. So, I struggled with a lot of things. I'll never not tell you that because it'd be a lie if I didn't. I struggle every day. Every sentence is a struggle, which is why I love to talk so much. But anyways, this lab testing when I was a small child, I mean, it was endless in my mind. Alright? And it wasn't just a single MRI or, you know, poking you with needles to test you for other nerve sensitivities or, you know, it was not just a test. It was more like endless testing. And maybe I think that with my adult mind remembering back to my childhood because it took so long. But I remember doing it more than once as well, okay? I remember a lot of things from my childhood. Unfortunately, a lot of things have been breaking loose over the last several years because I want to know why. And just like a child, I keep asking why. I like to learn things all the time because I can't, according to medical history. I broke that wide open a long time ago, folks. And I'll keep breaking it open as long as I possibly can do so. Okay? So, but I do not take this testing from my childhood as a way to torture me or something extremely negative, okay? I don't. But I do kind of flash back to it a little bit because it was a terrible time in my life as a child that I felt was extremely insane, extremely bad. I hated doctors forever because of that. I was scared to death of doctors. And don't get me wrong, I still have my fears. But you can't let fear hold you back in life either. And that's part of the reason I do this stuff. I can't let fear hold me back, and I'm not going to let fear hold me back. Alright? If I would have let fear hold me back, I probably would have been as useless as the rest of the world was telling me I would be at that time. Alright? Now, am I sad about those times? Yes. that made me the man I am. It might be a little awkward sometimes, might be a little creepy sometimes, but at the end of the day, I try to be a man of God, a man who can love people for who they are, you know, and what they are versus what they're not. So many people out there today that are hating people for what they're not. And even these people that think they're hated for what they are. And, you know, there's people that hate you for what you are out there. There's no question about that. There's people that hate me for learning disabled, for crying out loud, for being different in this world, for being against the grain. But I'll tell you what, I've seen videos that make me absolutely appalled that I could never accept. Like, a pedophile's world is okay as long as he doesn't act on his emotions. But it's okay to have those feelings and always have them temptations. No, that's not okay. By any means, that is not okay in my world. Is it okay to have a sickness? Yes. Is it okay to seek help for that sickness? Yes. It is not okay to ignore it, though, and call it a lifestyle. So that sort of thing, yes, I will hate you about that. I will hate completely about that. Because pedophiles had their fun with me. I can never say that's okay. Not even the very thought of it is okay in my book. So, you have these problems, go and seek help for them. And if a doctor says it's okay to really fantasize about this stuff, go find another doctor. And I'm not coming to you here with that as anything outside of being a survivor. Okay? Now, obviously, I have a lot of things built up in me. I'd love to get out there. I'm not trying to hold our conversation with myself on YouTube about this stuff or anything else. But please be mindful of your children, people. Be mindful of yourselves. When you are dealing with these doctors and stuff, make sure you know why. Your children are going to remember this stuff. Things have gone a long way again. But they are going to remember it because it is not comfortable. No one likes feeling like they're the ones being picked out and picked on. Alright. So, like I said, I'm not making a huge thing about everything. It was just part of the process growing up. I thank God every day. Thank you, God, for not allowing me to be one of those children that get stuck in Pinterest. And there are still children out there today alive that remember it, just like there's still, and it's, granted, this is a large, fewer number of people who were out there during the Holocaust or something like that. And to me, I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong, but in my book, it's the same level. Children were tortured. They were put in institutions because they had similar problems to me. Some worse, some not as bad. They had teeth yanked out of their mouth. They never learned how to crawl or walk properly. They'd be left sitting in their feces for days on end. And if you don't believe me, look up Penhurst. The whole reason why all these places started changing and closing down is because of the conditions of Penhurst. And I'm not going to blame the employees, and let me tell you why. Because the employees that worked there were just overwhelmed. There were not enough employees. In fact, if anyone was to blame, It would have been a mistake for not having the proper finances available to deal with these children, not having the people available to say, okay, well, let's try this with your children instead of giving up on them. I've seen a lot of horrifying things when it comes to this stuff. I've studied a lot of horrifying things when it comes to this stuff. Keep in mind, do your homework. If you have a child and you're going to give up on them because there's something wrong with them mentally or physically, don't have children. If you don't have a love in your heart to love a child, no matter what the case is, do not have a child. Because in today's world, we have more of this going on than ever before. In my generation, it was there, but not nearly as common. Today's world, I'll tell you what, all 3 of my children were diagnosed with autism. All 3 of them. I'm not ashamed of them on any level. God knows I miss them, but I'm not ashamed of them. So, I'm going to leave it here. I hope everybody out there at least found some sort of value from this. Don't let your silence drown out their cries.